Mayor Borge, I have a couple questions for you in a minute or two, but City Manager Ciravina, just a quick question. As the blood testing is not underway, is it still being resisted? I know you want it, you've asked for it.
Yeah, it's not underway.
Right.
Assemblyman.
And I think I had read an article where the governor had said that he wasn't aware that you had asked for it. This was a while ago, so I'm sure he's aware of it by now, but you had asked for it, and he wasn't aware that you had asked for it and wanted to gather all the facts. Do you have any idea at that point what facts he would have been waiting to gather?
I do not.
Yeah, okay. So nothing yet. All right. Thank you, and thank you for this great synopsis. Thank you. Mayor Borge, thanks for your overview as well, and I know you've been through a lot up there in Hoosick Falls, so I just wanted to go over a couple things. The bottled water program was something that you were involved in early on, right? I mean, you were pretty intricately involved with St. Gobain getting that set up, correct?
Yes.
What's your opinion? I'm asking you to speculate, which is difficult to do, but what would have happened if St. Gobain had not agreed to provide bottled water? Where do you think we'd be at this point?
Well, that's a perfect example of the bureaucratic catch-22 that we found ourselves in. And I don't want to oversimplify it by any means, but we were not out of compliance with anything. Therefore, whether it would be bottled water or a tanker or anything else, we didn't qualify for that because technically speaking, we were in full compliance. Now, I spoke with St. Gobain early on in December of 14 and asked them if they would provide bottled water initially. Initially, they said no, they wanted to wait, they wanted to see some things. But over the next few months, I repeatedly asked them, and after they did their own sampling, and then they came forward and said, we are going to fund a GAC system, I asked them again, and they said yes, they would provide that bottled water. So we were able to put that in place through a local supermarket, which I think was the easiest way, and none of this is easy. I don't want to give that impression, but I think it was probably the most practical way for residents to be able to pick up water regularly.
Right. Any idea how many gallons have been provided thus far? I don't know if anybody's even keeping count.
No, we're tracking that. I honestly don't know, but we started on November 29th, 2015, and here we are in September.
Right.
So, I mean, it's quite a bit.
And about 5 gallons a day if they want it, up to 5 gallons a day.
Up to 5 gallons, and if people require more, they can get more, and there were certain circumstances that met that criteria.
Did the state of New York, I think I know the answer is going to be no because of what you had previously said that nothing was out of compliance at that point, but I'll ask it anyway. Did the state of New York, the DEC, the DOH, Department of Emergency Services, ever offer to help set up the water delivery program? Because that was a problem for a while where volunteers were taking care of it. Was there any help offered from the state, even after the bottled water program was put in place, to help you with the delivery of that water?
No, but to be fair, I didn't ask for any help at that point because we had a number of wonderful people that stepped forward who volunteered to do that. Now, St. Gobain has since come in and they are taking over the responsibility for that.
Great. Did you sense in your dealings with the DEC, the DOH, and maybe to a lesser extent the EPA, did you sense, because it's been reported that the Cuomo administration resisted sounding a public alarm even though federal regulators warned senior health department officials that people in Hoosick Falls should be alerted they were drinking water that contained dangerous levels of a chemical linked to cancer and other serious health problems. Those are according to documents. I mean, we've kind of had a pretty good detailed synopsis of that there was some pushback. Did you get a sense of that on a day-to-day basis as things were moving along, that there was resistance to inform the public on behalf of the state administration?
No, not at all.
Okay.
We worked very closely with DOH, and then DEC became part of that equation probably in January from that point forward. But all along, whether it was with state DOH or the county, no, in total honesty, I cannot say that.
Okay, that's good. Going forward, because as you had stated and many of us have stated, it's not a question of if, it's when this happens to another community. We know at Newburgh it happened, seemed like right afterwards. Petersburg broke loose within weeks, it seemed like, of Hoosick Falls. It's going to happen. It's going to play out all over. And that's been part of a lot of our, you included, a lot of people saying we don't want this to happen to another community. But we know that it more than likely will. In the instance where people are going to need to go on bottled water, and we had some significant, I think, obstruction or not clear answers on when they should be notified earlier today. But given the fact that we know there's going to be instances where people go on bottled water, and given your experience in dealing with that distribution situation, how would you approach handling it in a better way? You have invalids, you have elderly, you have people that in our area up there don't have internet, don't have necessarily the best communication. We know how rural it gets up there pretty quickly. So what would you suggest, knowing that a small village is going to be overtaxed trying to handle it? Do you think that the Department of Emergency Services or the National Guard or somebody should be stepping in to handle this distribution?
Well, I think the first thing we would have to do, and it took us a little while, is get a handle on just how wide the distribution is. When we started off, we were looking at maybe a dozen people. And then word of mouth, and as we advertised this service and got the word out there, more people came forward. So I think in a proactive way, what a community can do, particularly a smaller village where truly everybody knows everybody, is I think we can start to take stock of that beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get an idea of where people are, who's isolated. You have a number of senior centers. Rensselaer County has a senior center in Hoosick Falls. There are a number of different ways we can start to get that information. And I think that can become part of the local emergency services planning. Because whether it's a contaminant in your water or whether it's a hurricane, and you're talking about 3 or 4 days, you still may have to get to reach people. So again, I think what we do is we take what we've learned from this experience, go forward, not waiting for the next emergency to occur, but go forward and start gaining that information. Churches, the churches have been so helpful. Mm-hmm. They have inroads, they know people. The senior centers, all of those kinds of things, visiting nurses. There are a number of ways to do it. And if necessary, certainly in a overall total disaster, you might need the National Guard, you might need something else like that. But I think we could do a lot of that work early on.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.